to Devin Booker
Didn't said it.
is the next Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
It is official. His first playoff appearance. And the brother's a number one option, averaging over 28, dropped 40 in a triple-double in the first game of the conference finals. And just the way he plays, he's an assassin.
Yep. Is there a question? You want me to respond to it?
Come on, Max. You know the show. Talk to me, Max.
I'll tell you what. I've been calling him the mini Mamba. I mean, this goes back, a long time already with Devin Booker, and I'm not the only one. His game is reminiscent of Kobe's. He was mentored by Kobe. He is fearless like Kobe, and this was no surprise. Yes, you have to go out and do it the way Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray did it last year in the playoffs. But if you looked at Devin Booker in the bubble last year, those 8 games, he was the best player in the NBA. When all eyes in the world were on the NBA, like, let's remember the pandemic, what that meant, the kind of attention when they finally started playing again, right? He was the best guy in the league and played lights out. This is no surprise he performed like this in the playoffs, and Stephen A. been calling him the mini Mamba.
Well, I'm glad you remembered that you said that. Congratulations. I appreciate you reminding the audience that you did that. Thank goodness. Here's the deal. Devin Booker is averaging 29 points in his first 11 playoff games. 6-game series against the Lakers, swept the Nuggets in 4, won game 1 against the Los Angeles Clippers. He's scoring 29 points per game on 49% shooting from the field, on 38% shooting from three-point range. The last time we saw him was a couple of days ago. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. He dropped a triple-double that included 40! 40! Okay? All I'm trying to say to you is this. When I say the next, I'm talking about we've seen this before. Albeit on a slightly elevated level. We've seen it. And now there is an heir apparent with a mid-range game, a long-range game, ball handling skills, the ability to create his own shot, a 6'5" frame, okay? This brother is special. And anybody who disagrees with me, I respect Kendrick Perkins. I respect anybody out there that might have a different opinion. But when I give a damn, I'll be sure to let y'all know, because I don't. I know I'm right about this, and I believe that Devin Booker will validate my claims tonight in Game 2. That's why I traveled to hell of Phoenix. I ain't traveled to Phoenix for no reason. I traveled here for Devin Booker.
I think so, yeah.
Guess what? We'll be here tomorrow to break it all down. Stephen A., have fun. Be safe, okay?
I can hear y'all fine. I can't see y'all, but I can hear you. How y'all doing?
We can see you. You're looking good. All right, so Stephen A., tell me this. If the Clippers lose tonight and they go down 0-2, do you think they'll come back again like they have in this playoffs we saw with the Mavs and the Jazz?
No. I think this is a different beast. I think when you were going against the Utah Jazz, as sensational as I believe Donovan Mitchell is, he was the only guy on the court that could make a play for himself. The rest of them were completely dependent on him and what he created for them in order for them to score the ball. And when you're playing against stout athletes like the Los Angeles Clippers with Kawhi, with Paul George, even though Kawhi wasn't there the last 3 games, but with a Paul George, with Reggie Jackson, who's playing for a new contract and playing lights out, with Morris and everybody else, I mean, you're going to have to show up. In the case of the Phoenix Suns, that's not their issue. CP3 might be out, but Devin Booker, the second coming of Kobe Bryant, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at the kind of show he's capable of putting on, that's one element. When you look at Cameron Payne coming off the bench and subbing for CP3, I think that's another element. When you look at Mikal Bridges and the way that he's been playing, you look at the experience of a Jay Crowder, who's as tough as nails. All of these different things, you've got guys that are capable of creating their own shots and making things happen and able to match the athleticism that the Los Angeles Clippers are going to be able to throw at them, if not exceed it. So when I look at it from that perspective, I say if you go down 0-2, now the question is, are you going to beat the Phoenix Suns, the number 2 seed in the entire NBA? Are you going to beat the Phoenix Suns 4 times over the next 5 games. I do not see that happening. If the Los Angeles Clippers don't win this series tonight, I think they win this game tonight. I'm sorry. I think they lose the series. And there's no disrespect. I mean, you look at Ty Lue and the kind of adjustments he's capable of making. Hats off to him. The great job that he has done. Brooklyn misses him. They should have hired him. The Lakers missed him. They should have hired him. Well, the Clippers got him, and he's done a hell of a job this postseason. No question about it. But in the end, without Kawhi Leonard and being down 0-2, ultimately with CP3 coming back, we know he's coming back. We don't know that about Kawhi Leonard. Los Angeles Clippers lose game 2. Los Angeles Clippers lose this series.
Listen, all the Suns will have done is defend home court. Like every series that has ever been played, either we go up, home team may be in trouble. Team with home court, they lost home court. You know, all you need to do is get a split on the road, or, okay, they defended home court. Now, you're right. Clippers are going to have to get a win on the road. I don't see that happening without Kawhi Leonard. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. They lose game 2. Of course, they're going to lose. Terrence Mann can play, and you and I have been talking about that earlier in the season. The kid can play. He's not Kawhi Leonard. But if Kawhi comes back, this team is excellent in terms of its top stars, MVP caliber, especially in the finals, in the playoffs. We've seen Kawhi do that. They have a second banana in Paul George who has stepped up. Mentioned Rondo. You mentioned the play of Reggie Jackson. Terrence Mann stepped up, and he can actually play. That's not a fluke. Morris, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
they got a really good and deep team, Stephen A., and the best coach in the business.
Well, I get where you're coming from, Max, and we can't summarily dismiss that, particularly with what we've seen from the Clippers. But I do think it's important to ask yourself the other question that I posed a bit earlier. Could you see the Phoenix Suns losing 4 times over the next 5 games? We've seen no evidence of that. As a matter of fact, the only thing that comes close to qualifying as evidence when you're talking about the Phoenix Suns is if you're willing to say, excuse me, they're kind of allergic to prosperity because throughout this season they've been known to give up some big leads. They get a bit comfortable with themselves once they know they could blow somebody out and run them out of the gym. You know what? They tend to slack off a little bit. You could make that argument. That's about it. And I just think that that's what we have to look at when we look at this team. And we got to look at a guy like a Devin Booker. And I'm going to keep bringing his name up. This is his first ever playoff.
Well, Devin Booker, we lost Stephen A for a second. Devin Booker, as I've been saying, is the mini Mamba. So that going into these playoffs, in the sense that he's not as tall as Kobe was quite, he's not as good defensively. He can't get his own shot to the extent that Kobe could, but who could, right?
And we are going to discuss that later. Perk's going to join us for that conversation
Booker
he is the next Kobe Bryant.
Booker can score from anywhere like Kobe, and he's fearless. And we saw them go 8-0 in the bubble, led by Devin Booker, who was the best player in the bubble in the regular season bubble last year, and they picked up where they left off. But Stephen A., to go to your point about can I see the Clippers winning 4 out of 5, it's not the way I look at it. So far, if the Suns win game 2, they've held home court. And barely. They barely won game 1. So that says the Clippers are very competitive with them, obviously. If the Clippers hold home court, which is all you're supposed to do, now it's a 2-2 series. The Suns can win back in Phoenix. The Clippers can win back in LA. It'll come down to a game 7. It will come down to, as it always does, is the reason you want home court, because the team that goes up 2-0 is likely to win. You're right. Can you win them? Can you beat them 4 out of 5 going forward? But if home court simply holds, then it comes down to the Clippers needing to win a game 7 on the road. Can they do that? I think they can.
Well, first of all, you already lost this argument because you said that's not the way you look at it. And we don't really mind how you look at basketball. We don't pay attention to that, Max Gilman, because you come up with a whole bunch of things to, with some of your theories and what have you straight out of Columbia. And that's what your definition of basketball is. You can look at it that way. And it's very plausible. It's not like your arguments are implausible or anything like that. I'm not trying to accuse you of such a thing. But what I'm saying is that you got to go series by series and you have to pay attention to who you're going up against. I totally get what you're saying about the Clippers. You're not wrong. I'm not dismissing it. It's not like you're ignorant about the game of basketball. I'm not accusing you of that. I'm simply saying that when you look at the level of competition that they're going up against in this particular series, the Clippers beat you because you know what? Whether it's with Kawhi and Paul George or whomever else comes into the equation, they play a perimeter guard-oriented style of play. And when you're going up against teams that have an inability to create their own shot, the Clippers are capable of running you out the gym. When you're going up against a team that is fully capable of that, you got a different animal. And by the way, I completely disagree with you that Devin Booker, even though he's a star and he can create his own shot, not quite Kobe-esque. I'm sorry. The Devin Booker that I'm looking at, I haven't seen him have a problem getting his own shot at all.
Well,
all
but
season
not,
long.
to the extent,
this dude is something
Kobe
special.
Could. I mean, like, look, I love Devin
Excuse
Booker.
me?
That's why I love Devin Booker. Devin Booker idolized Kobe and was mentored by Kobe. I'm not the only person that's called him a mini Mamba. You're now saying he's the next Kobe Bryant. Like, we're in a large group of people who make that comparison. But I don't think Kobe Bryant was the best bad shot maker who ever lived. Meaning he always had a shot available to him. I'm not slighting Devin Booker. I'm just saying in that regard, Kobe's in a class by himself.
And I guess, for me, Eddie Johnson, a former NBA player who does a great job on SiriusXM's NBA radio, he calls Suns games out here. And if you listen to him talk about Devin Booker, I mean, nobody has pointed out the greatness of Devin Booker more than he has, because he watches every game, because he calls every game. And when you look at Devin Booker, he just kept imploring people all year long, because whenever I get a chance, it's not often, but whenever I get a chance, I'll listen to his show. And all year long, he's been beating that drum about Devin Booker. He's like, watch this kid. And the guy, you know what? When you talk about bad shots, Max, there aren't too many bad shots that he takes. You know why? Because he finds a way to get himself open.
Yep.
He doesn't say what Ocho Cinco says, I'm always open. That's Ocho Cinco's favorite line, I'm always open. He doesn't say that. But when you look at Devin Booker, it seems congested. It seems the area's congested. It seems that he's being guarded. But then all of a sudden, it's one move, it's one push off, it's one level of elevation, and somehow, some way, he always looks open when it's time to shoot. The kid's special. Kid's special.
Let's keep it rolling, fellas. And now to the Eastern Conference.